Good evening. The Toronto Raptors win against the Washington Wizards, 132, 102, pretty much a blowout. We saw garbage time minutes at the end, and Darko breaks three alliances in this game, three and a half, potentially maybe four. I have to watch it over again. But there were three things that he broke that he had been holding on to that from the outside, I think a lot of people were like questioning or looking at anticipating, or I guess not anticipating at this point. It was a bit of a pretty big surprise, to be honest. I thought he was gonna do this until the end of time, basically, but he obviously takes Dennis out of the starting lineup in favor of Gary. We'll get into how that looked. He played Jakob and Dennis separate, so there was a bunch of minutes that Jakob played where there was no Dennis, and that's been very rare. They've been kind of married, except for when Jakob gets benched at the end of games, and it's just Dennis. But you saw Jakob kind of be in a different chakra area, I guess, different role, different bunch of stuff, and then Malachi Flynn, who's just been kind of getting his scheduled, 14, 17 minutes a game. And Darko said specifically that the reason he doesn't want to change the starting lineup, this was earlier, was because it might, hurt some of the rotation minutes, which it turns out is Malachi, who he hit a couple threes in garbage time, but may have had the funniest entrance to a game I've ever seen from a player. Like I think five plays in a row. Just amazing. Like amazing. But yeah, the big news, the starting lineup changed after, what was it, 29 games, I guess. They decided to take a look at their 10th most efficient lineup and say, hey, maybe this isn't how we should, come out of the gate. So they put Gary in, and it was pretty. The Raptors were actually down at the start. I thought part of that was the Wizards were randomly shooting really hot, which is hilarious because nobody on the Wizards ended up with more than 14 points. But like Poole and Kuzma were hitting these really difficult shots, so I didn't think it was like super indicative. But it just looked nice, for a change. And to Dennis's credit, I thought it actually looked even better when he came on. And who did he come on? Who did he come on for? But having the two of them operating, and Scotty already being in a rhythm, and it's gonna take a while for the Scotty as the primary ball handler. Like they kind of said on the broadcast, like he's not running a ton of sets and stuff. And so that's gonna take time. And I actually thought that Dennis was like, he had a few really kind of weird turnovers. So did Pascal. So did Malachi. So did Thad. It's really funny. But yeah, it's gonna take a while for it to kind of all click. But I thought in general he did well. Like he created wide open looks for people to hit threes. And I get like the third and a half alliance that Darko kind of broke, which is even four and a half, was Scotty and Gary playing together more. We've seen that Scotty being the first guy off the bench or first guy off the court, and Gary subs in, just kind of this automatic thing. So seeing them they seemed like their minutes were more married together tonight, which just makes sense. And Gary had a good shooting night from three again. So I think that's something you continue to do moving forward. The other half one that I have to go back, it didn't seem like there was as much pick and roll in this game in general. Just saw Scotty do one with Jakob early in the game that I wrote down, and obviously there was some, but it didn't feel like there was as much pick and roll. It felt like there was more ball movement, which is nice. So there's just a lot different from this game, and obviously it's the Washington Wizards. I think it's like the 20. What are they in defense? I don't even know, but part of that's just going to be, I got to give a shout out to the mop crew. I got a couple mop crew notes. At 9:18 of the third quarter, Pascal went down on an and one, and that guy was the mop guy was just like he was there before the Raptors teammates, like Pascal's teammates, were there to pick him up. Like the mop guy was there, and then he had a second appearance, a much more pronounced appearance, maybe maybe a future video, where Dennis was emphatically 9:02. Dennis is emphatically getting the mop guy. Then a second mop guy comes, and then after that happens, and a third, like an inspector, comes onto the floor with a towel, and he's doing even more work. It was a pretty incredible moment in the game. There was also a little beef between, I don't know if people noticed this, between Boucher and the front row. There was like four guys sitting where like the John Morant's dad's seats. I don't know what you call them, but like front row, close to the TV. And every time Boucher had a shot or anybody who did anything, he just went over there and screamed at them. Again, bringing that energy. OG had a really nice bounce back game, despite two of the ugliest threes we've seen this season. One was an air ball, the other one was maybe an air ball as well, but he kind of fumbled with it. But in general, it's just funny that those two shots happened in this game because he was much better in this game. Again, this is the Washington Wizards, so if you're a team like the Raptors, I mean, the Raptors still have the opportunity to do one of the funniest things ever in the next game. But I think their next game is the Pistons. Am I correct? But yeah, this is a good game to kind of find your offensive footing. I think in the past it's been more Pascal just like decimating them, and he played a good game, but it was more of like a team effort. And yeah, the rotations and the lineups were just like very different. And after the first half, McDaniels was the only minus after the first half. He managed to be -6 in 6 minutes, which is kind of funny. But I can't remember going in checking the box score at the half, and every player except one was a plus. And yeah, I kind of noted like McDaniels is in before Malachi. All these guys, Precious and Malachi didn't play in the first quarter. Precious didn't come in until I believe halfway through the second quarter. Pirtle played really nice defense tonight. He had like a few blocks, a few steals, and he was a little bit more forceful in what he was doing. He wasn't as Treebeard-ish, so that was a nice development. I just feel like the changing of the starting lineup, the freeing the Yak Dennis marriage, which who knows, maybe they were at the point where it's like, hey, can we play with other players? Can we do other things? And it just opened. It just felt like they were playing with more. There's more movement. There was more joy or whatever. And again, this is the Washington Wizards, but there was some really big runs. Like the Raptors, in the second quarter, went on a 19-1 run, and then finished off. That was in the first quarter. Sorry, second quarter. Then they go on a 13-0 run. So a 19-1 run and a 13-0 run, kind of end of first, start of second. And these are the minutes that they're typically getting killed in, and it. So yeah, it was good to see. It was one of those weird games where they were up at the half. It's pretty rare, but it wasn't it was still a pretty close game at half. And it was funny going into the half, or coming out of the half. Savannah Hamilton, whose mom follows me on Twitter, by the way, potential top 3 Raptor moment ever. It's just I don't know. It's just funny. But she was talking to the assistant coach, and she mentioned the defense being really good or something, and you could tell. I think it's James Wade. He kind of he kind of flinched a bit, and he wasn't gonna take over the interview and be like, actually, our defense wasn't very good. But I could tell he was kind of okay, yeah, we got to keep hustling, whatever. And in general, I thought that the Raptors defense was much better in the second half, because in the first half, they were. I mean, I think they shot 40% from 3 tonight, which is kind of wild. But the Wizards were still right there. And I think that was partially tough shot making by Kuzma and Poole early. But again, no Wizard finished with more than 14. So the defense really clicked in the second half, I thought. Pascal with some really bad turnovers, but then I felt like every time Pascal had a bad turnover, the Wizards would just have like a worse turnover. Like 20 seconds later, there was a few minutes in the second quarter when they were both just like trading bad, just like really aggressive passes. Sometimes Pascal gets into his Tyrese Halliburton mode, and it's just like, you didn't play baseball growing up, you didn't play football growing up. Please don't make those passes. Obviously, a really good game from Scotty as usual, and I would be interested to hear what his kind of feeling about getting those reps, at the start of the game at the one. I think it's really important, and it is kind of a shame that it took this long for it to happen, but it's finally happened, and they won. I mean, it's the Wizards, but I thought Precious came in and played better than I expected. I thought Boucher had a couple of, he shot 2 for 4 from 3, which is nice, but a couple kind of early out of rhythm shots, but like he was pretty good. Scotty got his ankle stepped on. Devlin says McDunk on a Jalen McDaniels dunk. What do you guys think about that in the chat? Let me know. I wrote it down. And yeah, the mop guys were killing it. Scotty saved this really chaotic possession. Dennis kind of threw it wildly, and then Scotty chased it down. Somebody missed a shot. He got an offensive rebound. Yeah, he just continues to just be like, when he's in the game, he's just kind of this like omnipresent. He's kind of like everywhere all the time, it feels like. And yeah, he was really good in this game. I think my favorite part of this game though was Malachi checking in. It's like, he's played pretty much every game and has gotten like serious minutes, and he checks into the game and just like 2 turnovers within, it might have been 4 seconds. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before, like ever in my watching basketball casually and heavily since '96. I don't know if I've ever seen a player check into a game that they haven't played in like the whole game, especially where it's been kind of this looming thing, and then in 4 seconds they get 2 turnovers. And then it didn't stop there. He dribbles, so like I think it was the very next possession, he just dribbles the air out of the ball. And as he was doing this, I was like, oh god, it was refreshing not to watch this tonight. Just dribbles the air out of the ball. 12 seconds left on the shot clock. He finally decides to pass it, make a lateral pass. His favorite move is just the lateral pass to the other guard, and then he'll run off, he'll fuck off somewhere. But anyways, he just dribbled the air out of the ball, and so once it kind of got going, finally, McDaniels ended up with a shot clock violation. So that's almost like a third turnover, in my opinion. And then very next possession, he comes down and airballs a 3. Just amazing. When that 3 airballed, I was like, they're gonna have to bring back like the guys that back into the game, aren't they? And then to Malachi's credit, he hit 2 threes pretty quickly, but just that sequence of 4 plays when you check into a game is like, that's what legends are made of. Like, that's just incredible stuff. I was probably my favorite part of the game, to be honest. I just really, really, really liked it. They said on the broadcast that Pascal's only had 4 threes on the road this season, and that's just wild. But I want to give him credit. He only took 2 threes tonight. He wasn't. There's been a lot. I think most games he shot like 4 or 5 threes on average, and it's a lot of 0 for 4s, 0 for 5s, 1 for 5, 1 for 6. So it feels like he's dialing that back a little bit. And on a night where there was not a ton of good perimeter defense, you could have seen him maybe use this as an opportunity to try to get back into a rhythm, and he didn't. He was very unselfish in this game. He had some bad turnovers, but he also had 10 assists. So really good game from him. Obviously a really good game from Anunoby. I felt like he really needed this one, OG. Like, I feel like the last 7 or 8 games, he's just really not looked great. And he was, 26 points tonight, plus 24, 11 for 16 from the field, super efficient, 6 rebounds. And, Scotty didn't have the loudest game in the box score, but 20 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, like almost a triple double, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and all doing all that in only 33 minutes too. Like, he's getting all of these numbers. He, like, just off the top of my head, it's almost hard to compare last year's stats to this year's stats because I feel like he's playing less this year. And I forget, Kierkegaard, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She from TSN, the Toronto Sports Network. She put out something that he either hit or is going to hit, like tonight, which I think he did, his 62nd or 63rd three, which is more than he made last season, which is wild because we're only like game 29, game 30. And a lot of these games he's playing 34, 33, 35 minutes. So it's not like he's out there like last season, which I bet last season his average was much higher. But yeah, he's not out there for 40 minutes a night chucking. Like, these are, for the most part, efficient, low kind of, like, he's not grinding the offense to a halt. Like, these are very efficient buckets. And it's kind of funny, like, on a night where you could say, oh, maybe he wasn't like his most dominant or whatever, he almost gets a triple double in 33 minutes. So he just it's just game after game after game where you can kind of always, it's the one thing you can always rely on. That's my really original thought on the matter. But Gary in the starting lineup, 3 for 8, 12 points. Like, not, I mean, he only played 26 minutes, so he kind of played almost like his regular minutes. But it's just a different. It's just like Sherman Hamilton on the pregame show said, you don't make change just for the sake of it. I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I think when you're just kind of emotionally, spiritually in this rut, and it does make sense to put him in there. So my kind of pitch, now that we've learned that Darko's willing to budge a little bit. Again, the three alliances he broke tonight are Dennis in the starting lineup, Dennis and Jakob being married on all of their shifts. We saw Jakob, play with a whole new crew, wasn't really being a hub. He was much more kind of down low, running the floor a little bit more, just a little bit more free, not doing pick and roll every time. And we saw Malachi not check in till garbage time. So, and less pick and roll. So just a very different, it just felt very different. The game just felt, not only the starting lineup, which is the obvious one, but some more kind of intricacies as well. What did people in the chat, what did they say about the game? Have you guys been to Washington, D.C.? I went there once and didn't do anything interesting. Just did all the touristy shit. Was there with family. 2 more wins before Domino's. Jimmy Pope says Flynn comes in, insta turnover. Jimmy Pope 4-10 on the McDunk. 4 seems a bit high. Precious comments. Thumbnail. Yeah, I'm really into Lord of the Rings at the moment. Well, I shouldn't say I always have been, but I've always liked it. But lately, just getting a lot more into the lore. Maybe we can talk about that later, after the basketball finishes. But yeah, it was getting a bit like Saruman-ish with the Dennis Darko thing. But yeah, it's exciting, it sounds crazy to say, but if this is the way he's gonna do lineups, like, it just makes so much sense. Did we see Scotty plus bench tonight? I don't think we did. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe we saw Scotty and 4 bench guys. So that's another thing. He abandoned he really like abandoned shit tonight. And maybe there was maybe a Christmas dinner, something happened. Maybe he was with family at Christmas, and one of his nephews was just like, "Hey, I've been on Reddit, and apparently you're washed. Like you gotta look at some stuff. Get the assistant coaches, get some weed going, stay up all night, put some coffee on, and figure out these lineups. Like rejig stuff, experiment." And he kind of did, again, like 4 or 5 different things in this one game, and it's the perfect it's the perfect game for a few reasons. Like you really don't want to blow the Pistons game. Nobody wants to blow the Pistons game. That's what makes the Pistons so entertaining to watch. I've been watching since loss, I think 14. I locked in like loss 14 hit. I was like, okay, this is like, I'm prioritizing watching the Pistons. And there's been a couple games where they've overlapped with the Raptors, but for the most part, I've been on the bandwagon since loss 14. So we're at loss 27 now after last night, and I believe the Raptors, they play the Celtics, I think, and I believe the Raptors are next up. So this is a good game to experiment, kind of test stuff out. You don't, because you want to go into that Pistons game. That's like the season-defining game for the Toronto Raptors. And this isn't the first time with the Pistons. You know, they have the whole Dwayne Casey history, which, by the way, I think the Pistons were really surviving off those 4 scheduled wins that Dwayne Casey would get against the Raptors. By the way, Pistons and Raptors, I put this on Twitter, both teams have spent a total of 2 days above 500 this season, the Pistons and the Raptors. So, you know, well, that's a cool looking, is that a train? I want to get on that later. Or that's like oh, that's cool. I like that. I don't know what that is. It's like half bus, half trolley or some shit. I don't even know where I am. Pretty good, you know. Cool little town here that I'm in. Still Christmassy. But yeah, he just completely switched it up. It's a Christmas miracle. Darko gave us the greatest gift anyone could imagine, and that's giving Scotty Barnes the basketball. Because I think we were all getting to that point of, okay, it's 30. I could see if you were like 17-11, you know, if you had like the Knicks record or something. I believe that's like the Knicks record, and things were going well. You could maybe understand it, but with how things are going, I think a lot of people were just afraid of, like, myself, I guess myself included, like, is he going to budge on this? Like, does he not trust Scotty to run? You know, like, Dennis Schroeder is Dennis Schroeder. He's coached Dennis Schroeder before. Dennis Schroeder came off the bench when he coached him in OKC on a team with, like, Shea was not the player he is today. He was still really good, but he was not, like, I don't know, was Shea top? When Dennis Schroeder was on OKC, was Shea in the top 10 of MVP voting? I don't know. It was like Lou Dort, Chris Paul. Like, that OKC team that Dennis was the backup on was not, you know, like, incredible. A fun and scrappy team. But you could see it. And also, like, the nice thing about this way of doing the lineups is now you have Dennis with a lot of these bench units. It felt like more balanced. Like, Scotty, it's almost like they gave Scotty the wrong mission. It's like him being the like lead guy with 4 people who are, you know, quite like, just, I don't know. Yeah, we've gone into that. Questionable bench pieces on the team. And someone like Dennis, that's what he's used to. He's used to being in that role, coming on the bench. Obviously, who was on those, like, was it like Theo Maledon? I think Theo Pinson. I got those two mixed up. Who was coming off the bench off OKC? Who's the South Dallas Shag guy? He got rid of that haircut, by the way, but I thought it was cool. Kenrich Williams, was he on? I think he was on the team. But yeah, like, he's used to playing with, like, the Jalen McDaniels, the Chris Bouchers, the Precious Achiuwas. Scotty's naturally going to be better with good shooters. So for him and Gary not to play together, for him and OG sometimes not to play together with these bench lineups, like it was kind of just odd, I think, for a lot of people. So it was almost like he gave Scotty the wrong, like, and so it was just nice to see a reversal of that, even if like the minutes are roughly the same across the board. Just like the way that the players were used was different. And now with Dennis off the bench, like your two best initiators are Scotty and Dennis. And I mean, they went to that later in the game, which is cool. But when you start with both those guys, you're kind of like, the team is so, I mean, people have said this, and I probably agree with it, like the worst guard rotation in the NBA. And so if you've got your two like initiators, and so, I'm sorry Malachi, but dribbling the ball up, everybody presses you, by the way, because they know they know that like you're just like a walking target. Getting the ball up the floor and then passing it, a lateral pass to the two guard or the three, if in the corner, maybe. Rarely makes like big corner passes or jump passes or skip passes or any kind of, like, it's you dribble the ball up the floor, pass to the guy. It's very recognizable because it's actually how my coach in grade 8 played me a lot of the time. So I really, and for Christmas this year, my mom got a bunch of the videotapes from like grade 8. I don't know why that year, it was a pretty bad year, but converted into USB to digital. So I watched a bunch of those last night, and yeah, it was traumatizing because like it was the same. I basically had to play like Malachi. So I noticed that behavior like very clearly. Like you dribble the ball up the floor, you pass and you cut, you pass and you cut, pass, cut, pass, cut, pass, cut. And it just doesn't really create advantages. And so there's been a lot of times this year where when you don't have Scotty and you don't have Dennis on the floor and you're just relying on Malachi to create stuff, you get a lot of the late shot clock. Here's a grenade with 4 seconds. Good luck with it. Like Jalen McDaniels got after the 2 turnovers, where he just had to take this flailing three. So it just you don't have that much. You don't have that much of that. And I guess I'll put in this context, Scotty is a guard because he is a primary handler when he's playing a lot of the time. When you don't have that depth, when you don't have that creation, makes sense, I think, to spread it out and to have Dennis be more in that role that he's familiar with, and then Scotty with better players, because he's going to accentuate the better players. Him accentuating Chris Boucher, Malachi, Precious, like it almost has like diminishing returns. He's going to get way more if he's with OG, Gary. The team's going to get more. He's going to get more. Like, just everybody kind of wins. And then Dennis does what he is like good at, So it just makes way more sense. And I was kind of thinking, like, I don't expect this will happen. I don't predict this will happen. But if the Raptors do like turn it around and are in the race at some point, I think a lot of people, including myself, will look back on this early chunk of the season and kind of just be like, why were they so married to these ideas that just like were not fruitful, not working? And this is all with the caveat that it's the Washington Wizards. But regardless, I just think regardless of who, even if they would have lost this game, I still would have been in favor of it, of the changes, because and it might be messy at times. Like, it's probably going to be, but it's the only way you play through it if you're Scotty and you're the primary. And I don't think it's going to be like him completely lost out there. I mean, it's more some late shot clock possessions, not running as many sets maybe as you would like, but that you pick up on that stuff. You learn that stuff. He's obviously super high IQ. I don't expect it would take long, or that it will take long, and hopefully they continue down this path. And I'd be interested to see like if it is related, like is now what's Darko, because I think everybody's trying to figure out how Darko kind of works. So it's like, is this the new thing he's going to be locked into now for the next like 2 months, or are we going to revert back if they lose a couple games? Like, what is the stomach for keeping this? Because he kept the previous regime intact to a point where it was kind of driving everybody crazy, and even media people who like don't really ever take takes or anything, like even they were kind of putting it out like, what the hell's going on here? So I think everybody was kind of in line with that. Hermes Curry, bro. Darko looked in that mirror for a long time. Vegan Grass, they're adjusting lineups in preparation for Game 7 on Saturday. Exactly. See, exactly. Like, you cannot, if you're the Raptors, like, it would be hilarious if they do lose the game. But B, you cannot lose the game. Like, and that's what makes the Pistons thing so much fun, or partially why there's a bunch of reasons why it's so much fun. But one of the reasons is you pretty much are always getting, like, a Game 7 level performance from the opponent, because nobody wants to be, everybody's online, everybody's listening to podcasts, every player has their own podcast, every player, it's even Asar Thompson is like, yeah, it's all over, it's everywhere I look. Cade, obviously, who, that's the only one I feel bad for, and I don't feel bad for him enough to really care that much. I love the losing. I love the experience. I love the energy, the dynamic. The broadcast is incredible. I love the Pistons getting their swagger back stuff, just the Scientology aspect of all of it. Alec Burks really put up quite a performance at the end of that game. I was reading on Reddit that, like, apparently a lot of teams that he's played for in the past, the fans have just been like, because he's been on like 10 teams in 8 years or something insane. Like, just, I was looking at his Basketball Reference, just like how many times he's been extended, traded, optioned, sold, relegated, swapped. Like, it's just like, wow, you've been around a lot. And if you're laughing after losing 27 in a row, largely off of your fuck ups, after Cade is like literally doing what Scotty had to do with the bench guys, but for like 27 games in a row. It's tough. Tristan Phipps, when he plays hard, he's insane. That's why he's a rising star. When he's bad, it's bad. Who's that? Oh, Precious. I think you're talking about Precious. Yeah, I thought he played okay, or pretty good-ish tonight. Didn't do anything crazy stupid. I had a little Precious meme ready to go if anything happened, and I didn't use it. So, Lord of the Rings related, obviously, or not obviously. I guess that's a good segue. I think that's kind of it for my notes. What did you guys think about the floor moppers? I thought that was a pretty good. Garrett Temple was the best dressed guy in the building. Like, all the coaches and assistant coaches are wearing like the tracksuit, and Garrett Temple's wearing, his probably the best dressed guy in the building. Just kind of a funny visual. I still can't believe Pascal's hit 4 threes on the road this year. That might become a compilation that I do. So yeah, Darko breaks his alliances, a bunch of them. Everything's changed, and yeah, I think it's like someone's saying, Bill Garreau, why don't they hire Rick Barry to help with the free throw shooting? Shoot underhand. I don't know. Angela says, I view the slow start, or I'll read it like he said it. I view our slow start, again, congratulations for making the team. When a super team gets first together and does badly in the beginning, just getting used to each other. I don't know if I'm ready to call this a super team, but sure. Starboy, Back to back with Boston, Detroit has me dreading breaking the streak. Hermes Curry, bro. Flynn villain arc begins now. I don't know. Gary playing decently again. Good evening. Malachi looked mad upset, says Ryokishin. I don't think so. I noticed him getting up and clapping a couple times. I mean, he's used to it. It's happened with Nick a bunch. But yeah, I don't know. Want to talk Lord of the Rings? Oh, Grady had a dunk at the end. Forgot about that. Yeah, fired up Lord of the Rings again. Getting more into the lore of it. And I don't know. I don't even know where to go with that. But yeah, it did feel like there was a bit of Saruman type energy. Quality experience says DeAr DeRozan mindfuck this team. Free throws. Vegan Grass says Alvin said the wind gets in your eye a bit after an air ball. He's too socially awkward for his job. I thought he was a little bit better tonight. I thought he was a little bit more maybe him and Randy Urban got together in DC, went to the Lincoln Memorial statue and had a prayer or something. Yeah, I can't remember any like Alvinisms from this game. I still haven't gotten around to watching the Alvin Randy Urban. I got a new OG video I just stumbled on that I got to make, so doing that. Adam Silver underwear still continues. That one, it's like the Adam Silver underwear video is, those ones are difficult where it's like the 3-person, like it's Adam Silver, Blake, and Will talking to each other, and I've cut it up so that Adam Silver is talking about his underwear, which he did, but I've exaggerated it obviously and kind of made it as uncomfortable as I possibly could, and then edit in the Henry Kissinger stuff just when it's like the most awkward. I edited that in, but those ones are difficult because every time I watch it, something needs to change, and it's just like these subtle things like, oh, we need to, like, that close-up needs to be another 8 frames or whatever, or this is too long, or like this word needs to come in. That Will going after Adam Silver's like, I only like the underwear I have are great, and I post content on Instagram, and I like put merged those two, fused those two things together to make it sound like it's the same sentence, and then Will going like but it's like even where the is like I watch it back and I'm like, okay, I gotta move this there, this has to be a little bit longer. For some reason those videos tend to like take me forever to put out. And then with the Alvin Randy Urban video, I think that might be a really long one because there is like 5 clips to break down, but then there's also 5 people there, and each of them has a dynamic that I want to needlessly break down. Like they each of them kind of have their own little, story or subplot. So that one might be longer and take longer. Unfortunately, that could be like a 5 or 6 minute video, I think. But I kind of like the mop thing. Maybe I could do just make that into like a short, just the mop. Because I like how they had to send in, like the first mop came, the second mop came, and then they had to send in like an inspector with the cloth. Like I liked that. Like that was kind of a rare moment. Did you guys notice any potential moments from this game? I mean, the Malachi sequence is probably more of a Twitter thing. I really enjoyed that. Like I enjoyed that it happened in garbage time where you can just kind of laugh at it. But that's got to be like the worst feeling. Like you sit on the bench like the whole game, and you come out. And I just want to read this again because it's like this was like art. This was all within like a minute. It was just incredible. He comes on. I believe he threw the ball away, or somehow got it. He somehow got a turnover, and then gets a foul immediately after the Hornets like made a basket. I think that was within like 4 seconds. Then he comes up, dribbles the ball all the way until there's 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Like he didn't do anything. And again, when Malachi's in the game, people press up on him. And so he's just like trying to figure out what to do. And finally like does something. But he's taking too much time off. McDaniels is just throws up an air ball, ends up being a shot clock violation, had no chance of going in. It's like a Jokic type shot that 2 people in the NBA probably can make. It's basically almost a turnover, and then airballs a 3 on the very next possession. That was all within like probably 48 seconds. Like just like it almost looked like it was a protest. Like it almost like it had that feeling of this is so bad it looks intentional. And then he hit 2 threes, obviously, but yeah, I just wanted to recap that. But yeah, I think that's. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I think that's it. Damn. Now the Lord of the Rings comments are coming in. I have to talk about it. Oh, Chris and the camera guys is vegan grass. Yeah, that was a good one. Because it was a Sportsnet. They were like, that's Dan from Sportsnet. Yeah, Chris going into the camera guy and Chris beefing with the front row guys. So Chris very involved with the crowd. Those could work together. You know, Chris Boucher engages with introduces himself to the crowd. Chris Boucher gets involved with something with the crowd. That could be something. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So the Raptors are like, what's their record now? 12-18. So really, making some headway. The Washington Wizards fall to 5-25. What is that? What pace is that? 15 win pace? No, less than that, I think. 12, somewhere around the 12 to 14 win. I mean, the NBA is like weird this year in that way. Like you've just got these teams that are just so bad. If you really want to get wild, go look at the Basketball Reference page, transaction page for the Detroit Pistons. So I've heard quite a bit that, the management, the ownership, well, Tom Gores is the owner, but that it like whoever's kind of the GM is not maybe the one making the decisions. Kind of like Phoenix with Isaiah Thomas. There's been kind of rumblings about that. I don't know who the players are in this, but that's kind of been a theory. So maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but even like I don't know if people, I didn't even know this. Or maybe I did know it, but like not consciously, but Stan Van Gundy was the GM for the Pistons for a while, like in the 2017s, like around 2017, like an awful era for the Pistons. Have been like, you had the bad boy Pistons from like 84 to 92, and from 2008 to 2023 it's just the bad Pistons. Like they're just the bad Pistons. And like Stan Van Gundy drafting Stanley Johnson 5th, tough. He did a bunch of stuff. I think it was him who traded Chris Middleton for like Brandon Jennings or something. And like it's weird. The Jeremy Grant thing makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Like, and now apparently they're out looking for an OG Pascal Siakam type. That's the new rumor. And it's like you had Jeremy Grant. Like what? And you traded. What did they like? They traded him for like a first, and like what was the Jeremy Grant trade? I know it was not like anything like that. That was just the most like random, just wasted. Obviously, they had Drummond, who's starting for the Bulls now. He apparently got like 100 rebounds in the other game. Um, they just looking through that basketball reference page. I mean, the Raptors one is bad, but at least there's like some like the Raptors one you get some highlights here and there, but the Pistons one, just going back through the years, I know their drafting has been like the Pistons team, like the 2-28 Pistons are loaded with lottery picks. And these are not all a bunch of like 19-year-olds. I mean, they're in a way like the Raptors did a ton of the rehabilitate, like the lottery pick rehabilitation program thing. They're still doing it, by the way. They got Justice Winslow I don't know where he was drafted, but he was in the lottery. I think there was like Miami Heat tried to trade like 4 firsts for him or something, if I remember correctly. But you got your Stanley Johnsons, your DJ Wilsons, Josh Jacksons. There was a bunch of them. Alex Len, like all these former lottery picks that they tried to like refurbish and it just didn't work. And the Pistons have kind of done that as well, except all of their lottery picks are like theirs. They just don't work together. And then they have added some external lottery picks as well. You've got James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley, which it's just the fact that they're on the same team together. It's just like, I don't know. That's just poetry somehow. That's like the real broken man's Kuzma Jordan Poole pairing. Like same type of like just hilarious that they're on the same team, but to even a way higher level than that and way funnier level than that. Yeah, that team, I mean, but it's one of those things like it's honestly as funny as it is, it kind of is a test like for the Raptors, for example, because that's probably, like maybe the biggest game of the season so far for the Raptors, just in terms of like what there is to lose. Like, they might have to throw like Pat Delaney in a volcano if they lose to the Pistons. Like they're gonna have to be it's gonna have to be something. Someone's gonna have to be sacrificed. Something's gonna have to happen. Okay. Chris Willis says Sauron goes to the refs. I actually enjoyed the lack of free throws tonight. What were the free throws? I think the Raptors took their first free throw halfway through the second quarter. Raptors took 19 free throws. Wizards took 15. Beautiful. Yeah, nobody on the Wizards got over 14 points. Just looking at the box score again. Like Kuzma 14, Poole 14, Kispert 13, Gafford 12. I mean, when nobody gets over 14 points on your team, and they still scored 100, which is kind of wild. They scored 100 points and nobody had over 14. That's but yeah, their whole starting lineup, and this is with garbage time as well. So starting lineup, they're minus 21, minus 12, minus 21, minus 20, minus 17, and the bench actually did a little bit better, but yeah, nobody on the Raptors ended up a minus. Even Malachi +4. So, oh yeah, and Otto Porter Jr. played. and he took 3 shots. No threes, but 3 shots. I'm kidding. I'm fading. I'm fading, folks. Did I talk about the Grady Dick dunk? The Dick dunk? The Mick dunk? Tristan Phipps and Vegan Grass is 905 or 1-0, or is that the new? Is the schedule like flipped or whatever? Like it's a new record or whatever? How does that work? The G League Showcase. I think I've watched 4 or 5 of their games. Jonte Porter and O'Banner look really good. Noel's looked pretty good too, so it's exciting, you know. I feel like I have to go over an hour on these things, but I guess I don't. But does it look weird if they're all like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then one's 51 minutes? Is that socially acceptable? I'm gonna go finish watching The Two Towers. Watch The Fellowship of the Ring last night. I like it because every time I watch it, you pick up new little details, or not even new details, but just you notice things a little bit. Like this time watching Fellowship of the Ring, I really noticed the scene with Boromir and Aragorn in Rivendell with the sword of Elendil, which was broken in pieces, which is like it's a super significant sword to Aragorn and to Gondor, and Boromir's dad is the steward of Gondor, and I believe if he died, then Boromir would like basically be the king. So him and Aragorn are both, in a way, kings like in waiting, but Aragorn didn't want the smoke and didn't want the ring because his heir Isildur wasn't able to deal. So he thought it would be genetic, so that's why he didn't want the ring. But it was just a cool scene because Boromir like picks it up and is like playing with it and just goes like, oh, it's just a broken sword, and like kind of throws it down. And then you see Aragorn just going over and like carefully, like meticulously placing it back exactly where it was. So it's just like I just thought it was a smart way to show like one of these guys gives a fuck, the other, you know, and obviously Boromir wanted the ring and he died a hero or whatever, but that was the thing that really stood out to me. So that's my Gregory says Rivendell is the worst Rush song. I don't know that one. There's so many bands like I can't say I'm like super into black metal. I was really into black metal in high school. I would get I don't know if I had to take like a quiz, I would probably I know like the 90s stuff and the 2000s stuff, but there's a lot of like Gorgoroth, Burzum, like those are Lord of the Rings names. Necromancer. I'll check out Rivendell by Rush. I gotta say, like I do like I think Limelight and Subdivisions are probably like in my top 50, probably maybe top 40 even all time. And then there's kind of a big drop off for me after those two. And then there's a bunch that I like. But there are some where his voice is a little like screechy. Like it just doesn't work for me. It's a little like super trampy, but not like it's a little kind of doesn't quite fit almost. I like when it's more kind of like dreamy-ish. So I'll check out Rivendell after. That's a good pull. Chris Willis, Boromir failed, everyone failed except Samwise. It's an interesting theory about like the failing thing, because he only had the ring for like a day or two in Minas Morgul, I think, if I remember correctly. So who knows, maybe he would have fucked up as well. You know, like the reason they kept like the ring could not be destroyed, and it kind of goes back like on purpose, I think. Like it kind of goes back to the Tolkien or whatever, where it's like good might not be able to defeat evil, but evil will always defeat itself. And that's why it could probably maybe only be because Sauron like never imagined anybody would try to destroy it, and the way the ending played out, where Gollum kind of accidentally fucks it up. Um, if he didn't do that, would Sam have not failed? If Gollum wouldn't have slipped and would have just been like got in the ring, maybe lost it, maybe he would get tracked down, goes back to Sauron. So would Sam be the hero then, or was it more by chance? Chance versus failure. I'm trying to learn about it. I don't know anything really about the lore of it, but I'm trying to learn. All were tempted, all failed. Sam was the only one to give it up. It only takes one good man to resist temptation and defeat evil, says Chris Willis. That's weird. I remember Bilbo giving it up to Gandalf. I feel like I remember that scene. I was on a lot of drugs, but I do remember Bilbo willingly giving up the ring to Gandalf. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, Chris Willis. Angela said there's good YouTube explanations for all this, implying that I haven't watched them, I guess. Sorry, my lore isn't my lore is not that great, but yeah. I think that's yeah, I'm fading. Raptors win by like 30 points, so well, there's one more comment. Devin Smith, is Ted Rogers the worm tongue of the Raptors, Masai being king of Rohan? I would say Masai is Sauron, all powerful, corrupted by the One Ring. I would say Ed Rogers is Iluvatar. Darko is Saruman. Dennis is Wormtongue. Scotty is Frodo. Jim Sand is Gandalf. Who else? Who else is what? Jakob is Treebeard, just for like energy and vibes. Malachi's gotta be like, I feel like Merry and Pippin are too significant. Malachi is like Tom Bombadil. Precious, I mean, he's got the name, but doesn't really. Who's Precious? Precious is like Chris Boucher is Boromir. Precious. Who's Precious? Precious would be. I'm trying to think like plot wise if anything works, and then like physically, like who's like really dominating and like. I can't think of one for Precious. Maybe the chat. Chris Willis says Bilbo had to be convinced, cajoled, tricked, and intimidated. Sam willingly gave it up. Do you think that has anything to do with Bilbo had it for like 1,000 years and Sam had it for like an afternoon? I feel like isn't it like the longer you. I just think the Sam is the only hero is such a lazy take on Lord of the Rings. That's me being an asshole to you, Chris. I'm sorry, but I just think that's lazy as shit. I think there's like way more at play. Who is Dick? Who is Dick? Grady is probably. Well, Chris, you answer. You know more about Lord of the Rings than I do. So, just pass it off to Chris. This is your show now. I hate how you move the goalposts with the Bilbo thing though. That's gonna bug me. Like 2 a.m. when I wake up and have to go pee, I'm gonna be like, he fucking changed. He moved the goalposts. It's very If you spend any time on the subreddit r/raised by narcissists, that's a very narcissistic thing to do, Chris. Moving the goalpost. Can Precious be Eomer? I don't even know who that is. See, I don't know anything about this movie. Grady is the tavern keeper. When they first set off. I like that. He like opens the top door and he looks out. There's nobody there, and he opens up. And then Frodo's like, "We're here on official business," and we're on it. And the guy's just like, "Yeah, cool. Like, I don't give a fuck." And he's like, "There's strange creatures mucking about." And then they go in the bar, and Merry and Pippin didn't get the memo. Whoa, this like bus train thing's fucking cool. I want to go in that after this is done. I don't even know where I am. Do we hit an hour? That's all I wanted to do. We hit an hour. Thank you. Thanks for the Lord of the Rings contributions from everybody who got this. I just didn't want this to be under an hour, just for aesthetics, you know. Got to keep it rolling. So some good. Maybe I got a little passive aggressive there with the whole Bilbo thing. Frodo got stabbed by the Witch King, which fucked him up through the whole story, which the movies didn't make as clear, sadly. Did he get stabbed by the Witch King or the Nazgul? Or is those? I'm newer to this. It was at Amon Sul, right? I think. Is Amon Amarth a Lord of the Rings thing? Now that I'm saying that out loud, it's another metal band that maybe came from Lord of the Rings. The Prancing Pony, exactly, yeah. Grady is a rider of Rohan. He's got the blonde hair. He is, yeah, maybe he's more of a Rohan guy. Because the Rohan, what are they even called? Rohan's kind of a weird name for like a Roman Catholic. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But aren't they like the Roman Catholic, like country folk of Britain, kind of around the time that he wrote the books? But yeah, Grady could be. I think isn't it Rohan where they put the two kids on the horse, and they're crying, and then they go away, and the mom's crying, and I think she gets killed by the orcs. That's Grady. The two kids on the horse. Who's Precious though? I feel like Precious could be. He's almost like Merry or Pippin in a way. Who's the one that looks at the Palantir? I always get them mixed up. I feel like Precious would look into the Palantir. He'd be like, because he doesn't believe in the whole moon landing thing. But I don't know. Precious feels like the guy who would like wake up in the middle of the night and just like want to look at it, or would is that Merry or Pippin? I literally get them mixed up all the time. WC says, which Raptor would be Tom Bombadil? I said Malachi. Rohim. Who is Precious though? Is it Merry or Pippin? And then he also throws the rocks into the pond when they're going to Moria, and then the thing comes out of the water. Also, here's a question. I always forget to Google this. Why did Gandalf let go of the cliff? Was it to go kill the Balrog? But like, couldn't he just like leave it there? I didn't get why he had to go on like a side quest like that. It seemed like a kind of a risky move to like abandon ship at that point. Or did he like have to kill the fucking Balrog? Pippin looked into the Palantir. So yeah, Precious is Pippin. Wait, who'd you Siakam is Bombadil. No, I think Siakam's like Aragorn. Who else am I missing? Let's go through the lineup. So I think Pascal's Aragorn. OG we haven't done yet. Who's OG? OG could be like a Legolas. I don't really that I'm not I don't love that, but that's off the top. Could revisit that. Scotty's Frodo. Jakob's Treebeard. Gary, I don't know either. Thad, who's Thad? Thad's like Galadriel. Boucher is Boromir. McDaniels. McDaniels is also one of the kids on the horse from Rohan. Precious is Pippin. Otto Porter. I don't know why I want to say Gimli. Otto Porter. Who's always injured in Lord of the Rings? Maybe he's the steward. Whatever his name is, of Gondor. Dennis Schroeder, Wormtongue, Malachi. Who did we say was Malachi again? Tom Bombadil. Grady's one of the kids on the Rohan thing. Okay, so Ed Rogers is Iluvatar. Messiah is Sauron, corrupted by the power of the One Ring. Darko is Saruman. Who's Bobby then? Bobby could be the Witch King. Yep, Bobby could be the Witch King. Also corrupted by the ring. His own ring. I like that. Okay, so we got OG Legolas. I guess, okay, Legolas would shoot from far away with the arrows. OG shoots from 3, so that kind of works. I just feel like their personalities kind of... Legolas has a lot of really corny lines, by the way. I would love to make a compilation of like bad Lord of the Rings lines, because like he notices shit before other people do, but his delivery on a lot of them is like, it just doesn't, I don't know. There's just a few of them that don't really hit. Like they just seems like you would do another take on a few of them. Like, I feel something in the air, it harms me, or something. Just like, okay. Sorry, Peter Jackson. OG's Gimli. I could see that too, because he's like, maybe Marquise is Gimli. he's smaller. OG's either Gimli or Legolas. Maybe he's like half. Then who's Gary? Bobby is the steward of Gondor. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, that might be better than the Witch King. What would have happened if the Gondor steward have gotten the ring? That would have been really bad. It just seems like the type of guy. By the way, in the movie, I could be wrong, correct me. He's the only guy or gal without like an accent, I think. Like he just has a straight up like, I am the steward of Gondor. He doesn't have any like Frodo. Like he doesn't have any of that shit. Maybe a little bit. Still don't have a Sam though in any of this. Can't really call Gary. Could you call Gary Sam? It's just, I mean, him and Scotty play well together. Scotty's Frodo. Scotty's kind of Frodo and Sam. Jim, San, Gandalf. Who's Jama Malalela? Who's just like a vibe? He's kind of like a Gimli and a Pippin, or a Merry and a Gimli. Pat Delaney would be. So Pat Delaney, former Hooper. He's not like a cheesy old white guy. Like he's like, seems like if he was doing the Randy Urban interview with Alvin wouldn't be like wanting to strangle him type of thing. He can hang, is what I'm trying to say. So I think Pat Delaney, it's a side character. Who's one of the elves that's with Galadriel in the forest? He could be one of those. Still powerful, but not the main guy. Lowry was Sam. Oh, Chris Willis says Eowyn killed the Witch King. Maybe I was saying that wrong. Eowyn. Gary is Liv Tyler. Who's Gary Trent Senior? Gary Trent Senior just like came out of the ground in Isengard and just goes around, just just a menace. He's so big and strong, and has an edge to him. He's got one of those big fucking clubs. Kawhi is a seal door. Yeah, because he died. He died young, I think. Right, like he didn't. He got the. Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually That's actually one of the best ones. Actually, no, that's a really good one. Kawhi is a seal door. That's great. Had the ring. Died young. Important in the story, but long gone. Yeah, that's great. I think I might end it on that because that's like actually beautiful. Uh, it's a good topic though. I should make a graphic of some of these because who's Gollum? Who is Gollum? Goran Dragic? No, he never wanted to. Who's somebody that they like cut? DJ Wilson could be cool. Okay, I think DJ Wilson is Gollum. Just comments, just like get. Oh shit! Knocked the light over. Like, just get the fuck out of here, buddy. Like, don't ever come back. Okay, hey, we need you. Show us the way. All right, you're cut. All right, get back over here. I don't know. Is that a good one? DJ Wilson is Gollum. Dennis is Gollum. No. I think Dennis is Wormtongue. Malachi Gollum? No. It's not. George, who is Gandalf? It's Jim Sand. Jim Sand's Gandalf. That's a for sure one. Who is Radagast? I don't even know who the hell that is. So good question. Let me Google that. Radagast. Again, I'm new to this. Radagast. Is he even in the movies? Oh, he's in The Hobbit. I haven't even seen The Hobbit. What's The Hobbit like? Is there Hobbit lore? Some dwarf wars or something? Some riddle game? Chris Willis. Is LeBron the dragon under the mountain? LeBron is Shelob. Or LeBron could be the Balrog. Yeah, he's also got a lot of rings, so he could be one of the elves who got or the door. I don't know. It's a good topic. All right. Lord of the Rings. There we go. That brought us through. I'm gonna go try to find that train. Raptors blow out the Wiz. 132-102. I think that I keep saying that was the score. Was that the actual score? Yeah, it was 132-102.